Okay, welcome everyone to week 4. I know that you've all been working very hard and you're excited about this week where we're going to actually do a dress rehearsal. It's a put together. But before we put everything together, what I want to do is I want to take you through a screen share and show you the journey that we have gone on together, starting with week 1. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now. So what we're looking at right now is our main authority site, authorityshowcase.com. Another way to get here is go to vipshowcase.com, and this is where we are, Maria and I are positioning ourselves as an authority to help people become authorities and credible experts in their industry. So I want to draw your attention to this page because, as I mentioned early on in week number 1, it's important to have some type of authority page. It doesn't need to be a full website. It's just an authority page that just shows your potential clients or your target market what you do and the services and products that you provide. Because if you're just using a general web page, a website, it could actually get distracted. For instance, Maria and I have 3 different talk shows. We have the Strip Live, we have Mastercast Live, and we have Star Power. And if we were to send somebody to any of these media sites, they're not necessarily going to be very clear on what we provide in the form of services. It's really just going to position us as talk show producers and hosts. So that's why we've created this additional site. So whatever presence that you're building online, just keep in mind that you should actually have one page that serves to really build your authority. Okay, so that being said, you could have from your authority sites links to various other sites. So as I mentioned here, we have a media page. Now, if you're going to be doing a lot of interviews, which I'm assuming you're in this workshop, so you're interested in doing that, as you're accumulating these media interviews, you really should put them on one page, a media page, and then this could, from your authority site, could just be a media link from your top menu that takes you through a page that showcases all of those interviews. The reason this is so important, as I mentioned previously, is when you go to outreach to some of these media outlets and these influencers, these experts, and you're proposing that you be a guest on their show, one of the first things that they're going to say is, show me something. Well, actually, the first question is probably, who are you? And if you can direct them to a media page, it immediately eliminates a lot of anxiety, because talk show hosts do not want to ever look bad. So they want to make sure that this is not your first rodeo. They want to make sure that you have a track record. So by sending them to an authority site that specifically contains a media page that showcases all those interviews, this becomes very powerful for your marketing efforts. Okay, I also want to draw your attention to specific pages for specific services. Now, if you notice here, if we go to the drop-down menu services, I have VIP client services and partner services. But let's just take a look at the client services. And you'll see here that we actually run this 4M program, media training, which is really just our blog. So for anyone that wants to continue working with us, learning from us, this is a place that you can go to. It's our blog where we're going to just have great teaching points, teaching tips available to you from this point on. Because here's the thing, we create relationships with you. Some of you we've known before, some of you we've just met, but we're already establishing a relationship. We do not want to let you go. So this is the next step for you. If you just want to stay with us, continue to connect with us, continue to learn, you can just go here to the media training blog and continue to learn teaching tips about online interviews and also offline interviews, studio interviews, red carpet interviews, so on. It's all included right here. We also have a membership level. Again, if you want to work closely with Maria and I, that's another option. But I want to draw your attention to the mentorship. because this workshop, as many of you know, is part of the mentorship program. And many of you are actually going to be attending our live event in Las Vegas over at the Bellagio for the purpose of coming in and continuing to get showcased. We'll have William there to capture your photography, capture your headshots and action shots, and we'll capture the whole, really the whole event, so that you can get positioned then as the authority. But you're also going to be on the red carpet. We're going to continue to coach you on how to do a red carpet interview. And I know many of you are excited to do that, to be part of it. We're excited to have you there. But this online workshop that we ran is actually the first big P. Now I want to talk about the big P. You're probably all familiar with this by now, is that we run a process that involves 3 big P's: prepare, produce, and promote. And this workshop is covering the first big P, prepare. And you notice inside of it, we cover these little P's, I call them: planning, preparation, practice, and presentation. And then over at the next big P, this is where many of you are coming to Las Vegas, where we're going to then do the production on the red carpet. We cover proprietorship, which is just really what you can do, the ownership, the rights of your video, all the different things that you can do with your video, which, by the way, you have the rights to do whatever you want with your video once it's completed. And then processing, that's just the editing and getting it all look professionally, and then packaging it, getting it ready to hit the market. And then the last big P is the promote, where we cover, well, first of all, we publish it to our websites, and we want to publish the content to a place that positions you as a celebrity. So remember those 3 shows that we talked about? We want to make sure that your content gets positioned on those shows with people like Stevie Wonder and Tony Bennett and will.i.am and whoever it is that is currently hot on the market, an A-lister, to attract attention, because we like to say you become famous by association. So that's a positioning strategy that we use by placing your content on a site that is positioned all about celebrity and all about influence. You're going to get more yeses when you go to reach out to media outlets for the purpose of getting interviewed. Because remember, the first question you ask is, well, who are you? And the next is, what have you done? So if you can show them something like this, this becomes very valuable. So I'm only going to focus on what we've covered in this workshop to just to show you how in alignment the workshop is with the mentorship program. So for those of you that are not currently in the mentorship program, you really are right now, because you've been specially invited by us. You are taking the first P. You are involved in that process. So let's just take a look. What we've done, week number 1, we covered this S1, stage 1, hot topic market research. Okay, and I'm going to cover this slideshow as a review in a moment, but I just want to draw your attention to this page to see how you are already working through the mentorship process. Okay, stage 2, week 2, we covered media preparation, story title, content scripting and storyboarding, the media interview. Week number 3, media interview rehearsal and practice. This is where we all got together online and we got an opportunity to interview each other and to be interviewed by each other. And which brings us to week number 4, media presentation, which is the dress rehearsal. And then now we're bringing it all together to get you ready for an online interview. Okay, so that's it. And of course, as I mentioned, anybody that's going to continue on is going to come to the live event, and we're going to move through the additional little P's and get into the production area. So you can visit this site anytime if you want more information. I want to take you over now and just a quick review before we go on camera and do the dress rehearsal, just to make sure that everybody has, first of all, done their homework, and secondly, fully understands the process of where you've come. And by doing a quick summary, you'll get an idea of if there's anything left unfinished. This is not the end. You can always go back, watch the replays, and go do more of it. I hope everybody's clear on that. Is if you're feeling inadequate in any one of these areas, in any of the stages, simply go back to the replays and do more work, because it is a process, and all you have to do is just go back to, if you feel that you didn't do enough in planning, just go back and do more in planning. That's all. So speaking of planning, week number 1, here's what we did. We've identified a target market. At this point in time, you should be really clear that you have a hungry market. And if you don't, you need to go back and do some more work. But right now, you need to know who your hungry market is, because the importance before you go out and do any kind of media messaging, if you go to a market that's not hungry, for instance, if you go to a market where there is no market, you're going to end up doing a whole lot of work and not getting any results. So all of these steps are so key, and I hope you understand the priority I'm putting on this first week, this planning week, because if you can get these sections nailed, your messaging and your promotion, if you get to the third big P, the promote phase, it's going to be so much more effective if you get this. Okay, let's assume that everybody has a hungry market right now. Next thing you want to do is determine who your ideal target audience is. And here we can actually identify our avatar. We call this our ideal client or our ideal customer avatar. And I want you to think of this person as the ideal person that would be consuming your message. So after a media interview, if you're doing an interview, whether it's a podcast or a webcast, if you were to think of the person on the other end, who would that person be ideally? I want you to have a very clear picture. And don't be general here, be specific. Bring it down to an individual, a person. And if you can get a picture of that person, post that picture on your wall. I like to post the picture on my laptop or on my camera, because as you're doing these interviews, you actually need to look at that friendly face. You can look at that person as if that is the person you're speaking to. So I'm hoping at this point that everybody has a very clear avatar, and that avatar then makes up your target audience. Next, we determine what that target topic is. And the topic generally we call a focus keyword phrase. So that topic could be business consulting. It could be stress management. And by now you should have that short keyword phrase as a focus point of all your messaging. Then what we did is we looked at identifying target influencers. These are people that we want to partner with later. And we can partner with them just by finding a way to add value to them. And one of the ways of adding value to these influencers is present yourself as an expert, as a content provider, and be interviewed by them. Because many of these people have their own talk shows and they have their own podcasts that you just have to reach out and say, hey, I would like to be interviewed on your show. I'm an expert in blank. And if you did all the previous work and you've gotten some interviews under your belt, you created that authority site, and you created that media page, you'll have something to show them. And then you just simply go to your target influencer list. And this is not one person. This could be, well, in pages and pages of influencers that you want to reach out to. And all of this is for the purpose of getting your target messaging for the purpose of the interview. Remember, we talked about Q1, Q2, Q3, and your responses to that. So it's A1, answer 1, answer 2, answer 3, or R1, however you want to word it, response 1, response 2, response 3. When you get that down into bite-sized chunks and you can learn that material solid, you're preparing yourselves for the actual messaging, the media interview, which of course then leads to getting that out to the market. So target media publications, blogs, podcasts, online magazines. And remember, we created a spreadsheet that consisted of 10 columns, and these are the 10 columns that are listed here. And it's really just a matter of doing a deep dive in Google. We presented other tools that you could use, but really you don't need them. You could just do Google search and go do what's called a deep dive. Search different topics based on your, I'm getting a little pop-up, someone's calling here, which by the way is another teaching point. If you turn off notifications, I do have my notifications turned off, but I received a pop-up. It makes sure that when you're doing online interviews that you have notifications turned off so that your interviews are not, your recordings are not interrupted by those annoying pop-ups. And that was my mother, so it's she'd take offense to that. But you know what I mean. My mother is number one. My mother is number one. If you have not done this yet, please do your spreadsheets. Go back and do the work on that. Okay, let's pop over to week number 2. Week number 2, we're creating a compelling title. We call that the hot title. Identify that hot title that's going to get the click. And then next thing you do is you create the storyboard outline and script. And again, we simplified that. A storyboard outline is simply a visual representation of the essence of your message. So this is your Q1, Q2, and Q3. And then the script, writing the script out first in detail, but then not memorizing it and not reading it. We don't want to read and we don't want to memorize, because we want to be extemporaneous so that we know our subject so well that the languaging comes out different each time, but it maintains the essence of the message. That's really key. Okay, then over in week number 3, we got to practice all that. And here's where we had an opportunity to just interview each other and be interviewed by each other. Which brings us to week number 4. And I'm going to give you a lot of text stuff right here. And you'll also receive this via email. I'll make sure that you have a download of this presentation so that you can go out and make some decisions, maybe purchasing decisions, and possibly even some technical changes that you might make to your current setup, which is designed to make you, actually, let me just jump back. I want to address your attention to week 3. There was something in here that is a really good, it's a good mind trigger. It's a trigger to keep in mind that when you're practicing, you focus on the 3 V's of communication. I want you to think of this when you practice. Verbal is what we say. So as I just mentioned, the scripting is the what we say, and the extemporaneous message is the what we say. The vocal is how we sound. So this could be not only our vocal, our communication vocal, but this could also be technology that affects the audio. So I want you to think of that 2 different ways. And the visual is how we look, and all of the various factors that we're going to cover in the visual. Okay, so let's jump back to presentation and go through some of this information. So remember, you're already here in week number 4 to be interviewed by Maria. So I know you're really excited to do that, to get started, but before I started this recording, I had an opportunity to look at everybody on screen visually, and I gave you some coaching tips. There's some other things that you can continue to do after this presentation that you can take away and you can apply, that's even going to enhance that visual even more. So we're getting you ready for a dress rehearsal. And again, a dress rehearsal is just designed to get yourself in a position before you're actually doing the interview with a host. So this would be a formal interview. Get yourself in a position where you can record yourself on camera, where you've taken all the necessary steps as if it was the real deal. So this is acting as if this is the actual interview. So do everything that you would do if it was the real thing. Okay, so let's go through and cover some tech stuff. First, video. Many people ask, what camera should I use? Well, that's very simple. The industry standard, a lot of the pros right now are using the Logitech HD Pro Webcam C920. That's what I'm currently using right now. However, I want to recommend that you spend a little bit more money, not a lot, and purchase the C930E. That's the upgraded version of the 920. And the reason I suggest this is simply because the C930E has a little bit better image quality. It also has better audio quality, but the most important, it has a larger field of view. A field of view is how much space you can get behind you. It's how much of a wide angle that you can get. And as I mentioned to all of you before, it's important to have that little extra space, especially if you want to demo some graphics over here in post-production, or you want to demo some props, or you want to gesture a lot. So this is the camera that I highly recommend without question. Okay, next is position your camera at eye level or slightly above. If your laptop is down lower than your eye level, elevate your laptop on books, or else get yourself a mini tripod and take the C930E and elevate it slightly above eye level. Slightly above, actually, because it makes you look a little bit thinner. If you come a little bit higher on your camera, coming down, it will actually get rid of that little chin area. People, what do they call it? The double chin or whatever. So it's going to make you look thinner and younger. This is really why you're going to go slightly above on the camera. Okay, next, make eye contact. Look at the lens, not the screen. Here's an opportunity again to take that avatar, stick it to your camera so you have something to look at rather than just looking at your camera. So again, just the importance of connecting with your audience by looking as close to the camera as possible. Okay, frame your shot. This is a mistake that's often made. Framing your shot simply means bringing your eye level at the upper third. If you can look at your screen, you look at your monitor and divide it into 3 sections. There's a lower third, a middle third, and an upper third. And you want your eyes to be at the upper third level. You could do this by adjusting your camera up or down like so. Or you can do this by raising and lowering your seat. Now look at this. Now, how weird does that look, right? And this is what a lot of people often do, is they put their head right in the center. We want to make sure that we maintain that upper third level, and you see the difference right there. Okay, framing your shot. I also mentioned this to many of you before, but we want to capture it in the recording. It's okay to be off to the side. And look, I could actually have another co-host right here or co-guest. So 2 people can sit side by side, and this works very well. Keep in mind, if you have 2 people of different heights, like Maria and I, Maria's down here, I'm up here. The upper third the upper third rule is for the taller person, not the shorter person. Obviously, if Maria went upper third, then I would be cut off. And you can also adjust your seats if you want to adjust the height of the people to balance that. So just lots of tips here that will help you for your dress rehearsal. Okay, let's continue on. The next is control your background set. Consider using a screen. You see I'm using a screen right here. It's a black screen. Some people like to use white because white works good if you're wanting to put a lot of graphics in your presentation in post-production. You can easily put graphics on the white. You can also put graphics on the background. I encourage solid colors just to avoid distraction. You can have printed messages as long as the printed messages are in alignment with the topic, the message, the nature of your message. It should be in alignment. If it's not, people will read it. So stay away from things like bookshelves in the background with lots of book text, titles, and declutter. This is a great way of just instantly removing the clutter of what's going on behind you. Don't have your camera aiming into the kitchen with family members doing dishes in the background, people vacuuming and walking past. It's all very distracting to the viewer. So using a backdrop works very well. You could also consider using a green screen. Zoom has a very good feature where you can just upload an image of your choice and use one of those collapsible green screens. You can go on to Amazon and just order one. I can give you a suggestion as to which one we use, but it's those collapsible green screens that can they're portable. You can bring them with you. You can pop it up in a second and you're ready to go. And you have any image that you want, as long as you got the proper lighting to support the green screen, because there's a little bit of a, green screens need to be lit properly, but that's for another course. But if you're using it, just make sure that your green screen is serving you.
Karen asked, can you comment on the Zoom green screen and the scenery options through Zoom?
Yes. Okay, so in Zoom, there are some default options to select your green screen backdrop. None of them work for me. So what I do is I'll select any graphic that could be just a JPEG graphic, as long as it's high enough res. But most images, even most web images are going to work well, and just upload that into Zoom. And again, try to stay away from distracting backgrounds. Like if you can find an image that contains good solid background, it's non-distractive, I would do that. But again, it really varies with the nature of the message. So for instance, if I wanted to position myself, if I was William and wanted to position myself in front of the Eiffel Tower, but I wanted to save some money and not travel to Paris to do that, I would just take an image of the Eiffel Tower and put it, and maybe just position it so that it's in the background right here. Okay, so lots of options really with using green screens as to whatever image supports your message, you can do that. Okay, let's go over to the next tip: dress for success, dress for comfort. Many people have questions around this. Dress for success really just means dress appropriately to your profession and to your messaging. So for instance, it's okay for a chef to wear a chef hat or wear a chef uniform. It's not okay for maybe a professional speaker to wear a chef's hat and a chef's uniform, because it's going to be funky. People are not going to understand why you're dressing like that. So dress for comfort just simply means be comfortable. Don't wear something that's excessive, that's going to make you excessively hot, or don't wear constrictive clothing. Wear something where it makes you feel like a star. It makes you feel awesome. Clothing has the ability to elevate your energy. But again, just consider the nature of the clothing that you're wearing and the dress. And this goes beyond clothing. Jewelry. Stay away from distracting, gaudy jewelry. Stay away from clothing that is noisy, jewelry that's noisy, rattling sounds, because especially if you're wearing a lavalier microphone and you got this jewelry rattling right here, it's just going to play havoc with the audio recording. So a lot of factors can go in here. And again, this could be like a mini course in itself. It's just how to dress. But I want to keep it just very simple and basic right now.
Hey Ray, I just need to jump in real quick. So when you said don't excessively hot, you mean temperature-wise, not like hot, gorgeous, right? So that's one thing. So I just want to clarify that. And I love that when I can make you laugh. I mean, that's a great thing.
Okay, colors. Safest is stick to solid colors. You can't go wrong with blues. You notice I'm wearing blue here. Pastels are natural tones, but you also have to consider what background that you're going to be using, what backdrop that you're going to be using, and make sure that it's in alliance with those colors on your backdrop. So an example would be, it can be risky to use, let me just take this red off for a moment. It can be risky to just have all black on an all black backdrop, because what could actually happen if I don't have the right lighting, I can become a floating head. That's all you're going to see is my head, which is going to be really scary to many people. So we want to make sure that in the event that you have the clothing that's the same color as your background, and you're blending in, which could happen often. For an example, if you're at a conference room colors are very bland. And if you're wearing something bland, you can actually just make your whole video lackluster just because of the lack of color in it. So what I'll often do is, if I'm matching too closely to the backdrop, is I'll take a splash of bright color in the form of a scarf. This could be a tie, and I'll throw that around because it immediately adds contrast. Now I'm not at risk of being a floating head. The other thing I could do is I could use lighting to make sure that I have lighting going to my clothing that's going to offset my clothing from the backdrop. So the point here is don't lose yourself in the backdrop. Whites are risky colors simply because they can be very hot. They can blow out. Blow out just means Your on camera, your white is going to be so bright, so distracting, and it'll blow out all your other colors. It's just you're going to look pale. Your colors in your face are going to, so it's a bit of a risky color. But if you're wearing a white shirt, again, maybe a black scarf or a black blazer over top. If you're a man, a dark suit, a blue suit, dark blue, with the white shirt underneath is okay. Now, other thing to do is stay away from, I just label it all as stripes, checkers, and polka dots, because that could do a lot of funky stuff on a camera. So, and then there are exceptions, but generally speaking, stay away from stripes, checkers, and polka dots. Patterns, heavy patterns, because they could be very, first of all, they're distracting, but secondly, they could actually play havoc with the actual video image. You can actually get vibrations of images on your clothing, and some really crazy stuff can happen. So stay safe. You can't go wrong with a blue, with a darker blue. Stay away from crazy patterns. Okay, and the last point on the video is, and this is so key, relax and smile. Now, I'm someone who I don't smile a whole lot when I have a relaxed face. I look like, when Maria and I were watching a movie or a show the other day, and the person said, his girlfriend said to him, you need to smile more because you look like you're about to murder someone's family. And I often look that way when I'm relaxed, and I'm not thinking grumpy thoughts, but I have to consciously remind myself that when I'm relaxed, especially when Maria's talking, I have to put a smile on my face because I just look like something's really, really wrong. So if you're one of those people, I empathize with you. We're not grumpy people. We just don't smile as much. And I know that's a habit, something I'm working on. Smile more. But smiling, I'll even practice what I preach right now. Smiling is well received. You want to look friendly to your audience. It also causes you to relax more. So know your subject material, be extemporaneous. It's going to cause you to relax. And my point here is, or it says, you got this. You got this. Everything that you've done up until now, you are ready. And even if you're not ready, you're ready. You're ready to move forward and be interviewed on camera, online. Okay, let's cover some audio tech tips. People often ask which microphone to use. 3 that I suggest: the Blue Yeti, the Blue Nessie, the Blue Snowball. I'm currently using the Blue Snowball. It is the least costly of the 3. A lot of podcasters are using the Yeti and the Nessie. The reason I choose the Snowball is because it's more portable. I can just easily just take it apart and throw it in a computer bag, and it goes with me. These are excellent audio. Do not skimp on audio. If you go with the Blue Snowball and the Logitech C930E, you got top quality professional equipment right there. You don't need to go any further than that. You got the best. Okay, so next is use a headset, earbuds, or in-ear monitor. This is suggested, but only if it becomes a problem. Headsets and earbuds are simply going to remove a lot of potential distracting audio noise. And in-ear monitor is just those like security type of monitors. They look like little things that clip, and they have a little wire that comes back. You can purchase those for your laptops as well, just an in-ear monitor. If you're using earbuds, bring them back behind you. Don't have them hanging right here by your face. A lot of people will have them hanging and have them running through their clothing. Just get your technology out of the way. Headsets, I use a headset just because I'm recording professionally, and I want to make sure that I want to be able to hear what is actually being recorded on the final product. But if I wanted to look more natural and lose the technology, I would go with the in-ear monitor. Just put one behind my ear, run it behind my shirt. That way you don't see any of the technology, and that's what I would do for that purpose. Okay, next, control the noise. And you don't always have control of this, but you want to make You want to control anything that you can control. So for instance, ringing phones, turn your phones off. Computer fans, some computers, desktop computers have noisy fans. If you can get your recording away from the computer, do it. And again, using a camera that allows you to take the camera away and put it on a tripod and get it away from the noisy fan. That will give you better audio. If you can't, if you need to use the laptop, just try to make sure if you're using the snowball, just keep the snowball pointed directly to you and not crossing over your computer. So it's because it's going to pick up some of that noise. Of course, heaters, air conditioning units, ceiling fans, any kind of outside noise. Control your family members if you can. Let them know you're recording. You need some time, some quiet time. And if you're in an office, same thing. Just close your doors, make that room silent. Also, as I mentioned, turn off notification alarms, which is all those pop-ups you've experienced on this recording. Some pop-ups that for some reason those are happening. I don't know why, because they are turned off, but again, I'll have to investigate that. But you want to make sure all those pop-ups are eliminated, because it could be very embarrassing to someone. Remember, a lot of times you're going to be going, you're in this online interview, you could be going live on Facebook or live on Twitter or YouTube live, and you just don't want stuff happening live that is going to be embarrassing to you, or it creates more work for the editor in the process. Okay, go ahead, Maria.
Okay, so Hala wants to know how to shut off notifications, and I think it's different from an Apple. I'm not sure from Apple versus PC. So go ahead.
Yeah, just go ahead and Google that, because I'll have to do that myself, because obviously I missed something. Just go ahead and Google that and how to turn notifications off on all your browsers and all of your apps, because it's going to vary depending on what kind of apps you're running. Okay, so that concludes the audio tech tips. Let's move on over to lighting now. Okay, lighting tech tips. So the first thing you want to do is you just need to brighten your appearance from the front. Okay, and here's how we do it. Simply, I mean, there's low cost ways and there's higher cost ways. A simple desk lamp with a soft 40-watt daylight fluorescent bulb. You can get this at any hardware store. It's just soft lighting, soft daylight bulbs is a safe way to go. If you use that and it still feels too hot, you could take a little piece of, I'm not even sure what it's called. It's like that plastic wrap, smooth plastic wrap that you can just put it in front of your lamp to filter some of those hot rays that are coming through. So that works really well. But the key here is put the light so that it's shining directly on your face. Now we're only talking about a single light source at this point. So have it shining on your face, and it's the same concept as the camera. Have it slightly above eye level. So you can actually place it behind your camera if you're mounting your camera on your laptop lid, or you're putting your camera and tripod behind your monitor. Put your light there as well, so it's casting an image directly on your face. That is going to hugely improve the quality of your video image if you do that. Next, turn down overhead lights. You don't need overhead lights. The only time I would use them if they were contributing in some way to my visual image, such as providing a hair light, it's called. Such as a hair light is where it creates a little bit of an outline light around it, also known as a backlight. If I wanted to light up the back of my backdrop, I could use overhead lights. But for the most part, I want to turn them off because they're going to make you look old. What happens when the lights are coming down? They create shadows under your eyes, and it's going to make you look like you have bags under your eyes and just make you look a lot older. So I know a lot of people right now just love that tip right now. I just showed you how to look younger on camera. That's cool, right? So turn off overhead lights to avoid the shadows and use a light that's casting light to the front. Adjust for backlighting, windows in the background. As soon as you have a bright light in the background, it's going to wash out all your color. You're gonna see it. You can experiment with it. You can go ahead and open up a window behind you and see what that looks like. So just close off close all your windows, pull the drapes, or as we mentioned, just put a backdrop and it'll take care of that. It'll block everything. 3-point lighting as an option, that's a little bit beyond the scope of this presentation, but just know that there are ways to use 2 other lights in addition to what's called the key light. So the key light is the light that's casting the light on your face, and then you can have a backlight, which can then come, or as a hair light, can come and create a little halo effect around your head. But again, that's a little more advanced. If you're interested in that, well, of course, for anybody that's coming out to Las Vegas, you're part of our mentorship program. We're using multi-lighting. We're using multiple cameras. We're using multiple lighting units, all professional level. We're putting you on a red carpet, and we're doing all things at the highest professional level. So if you're interested in more of 3-point lighting, you're going to learn that if you come to the event. And then we move on to miscellaneous tech tips. This is just all the other things that matter to give you the best, or to make you look your best and sound your best on camera. So first thing, highest speed internet connection that you can afford or that is available in your area. Highest is the better. Just go with fast internet. And when you have that internet, make sure that you're using an Ethernet cable so you're hardwired, and don't rely on Wi-Fi. Okay, next, if you're actually curious about how fast your computer connection of your connection speed is and want to get an idea of bandwidth, you can go to speedtest.net, and it'll show you just how you can compare at any given day how fast your computer, or how high your internet connection speed is. Okay, next tip, restart your computer before you start. The reason is because your computer over time is using up its own memory. You're opening up a lot of programs and you're closing them off, and some of them are not closing off completely, and it's retaining that in memory. And we want to have all of the resources possible available when we're doing any kind of online streaming, video streaming, because it's very resource intensive. So just restart your computer and close everything off that you're not using. And which brings us to the next tip, keep other applications closed. Anything that you need to have open, then of course, for the purpose of your presentation, have your windows open, have your apps open, and you can toggle, like you see me do often, is just toggling to different apps. But anything that you're not using for the purpose of the presentation, close off. Okay, next, you could use props, and this could be samples, books, products, etc., within your presentation. So again, just positioning myself, if I was going to use props and I wanted to demonstrate this pencil, I could simply use an area on the back, drop right here, and I can use that and contrast that prop. So you can do that with books or anything, really. So consider the use of props in your presentation. Okay, this is the one Maria loves the most. Prepare a short bio for introductions. I say that tongue in cheek because people often start with this really long bio introduction, which is often mostly to appease the expert that's on, because most audience members are just going, okay, 2 minutes of hearing all your accolades and your background, and just, I'm ready to just learn. I'm ready to, let's start the interview. So a short bio with a longer bio in the print form. So you're going to refer people to get the longer bio, but a short bio simply could be, welcome to the show. Today I have with me an expert in blank who has, I mean, we're talking 30 seconds, who has achieved the highest level in their industry. Well, it's for the purpose of this, one thing only, establish credibility for your expert. And if you could do that in 30 seconds, that's all the audience needs to buy into the messaging. So short bios we're going to get some practice with that in a moment. Okay, next is jump on early and use a pre-interview checklist. This is all this stuff that we just covered. Make sure that you have a checklist of everything so that before you jump on, you're taking care of all these tech tips, all this tech tips, every single time. Every time you do an interview, even though that you have it all set up, do it anyway so that you never miss anything, so that nothing gets left out. Because if you don't, I'll guarantee you Murphy's Law will kick in and you, oh darn, I forgot to plug in my Ethernet or something. I forgot to set up my backdrop, or just make sure you go through the checklist. I have some recommended tools and resources here. Again, I've given you which webcam to use, but also Zoom. Right now, Zoom for video conferencing is extremely superior to a lot of the other platforms that are out there. And it's free. There's a paid version, but just use Zoom. Trust me on this, it's great. And it's a good starting place. Technology may change, something better may come along. If it does, we'll switch to it. But for now, Zoom's the place to go. Okay, if you want just more great courses on this whole idea of being on camera, just go to lynda.com, get yourself even a free subscription, trial subscription, and just start to check out some of the videos on like, for instance, we got here on video makeup techniques. It's just great on-camera teaching tutorials that are available for you. Okay, let me get a sound check from everyone once you're unmuted.
Hi, Norma.
Good, 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 good.
Karen's here.
Susan's here.
So Hayla's here.
All right. Looking good. I'm just checking everybody's video.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, I do. I can hear everyone.
Great.
So you're all unmuted. Visually, everyone is looking awesome. Good, 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 good. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to invite you guys to our show. And we're going to record this, or we are recording it. We're all role playing. You can be anybody you want. But for the purpose of this show, you are world-renowned experts. World-renowned. I mean, the biggest. You are the biggest. You are famous people. So I'm going to be the director and kind of the director and the announcer for this show. And Maria is going to be the host. I'm going to do an intro to the show. And you are all guest expert panelists. You're not going to know at any point when Maria is going to pull you in to the spotlight. So I'm going to control from my end, from gallery view. I'm going to pin your videos as you come up. And Maria is going to toggle back and forth so that everybody gets an opportunity to be part of this panel. I want you to imagine at this point, just feel the energy right now of you are on this panel of peers, other influencers. Many of them you know personally, you admire them. I mean, these are everybody is so famous. So you are so honored. You are so incredibly excited for this opportunity. I want you to feel that energy right now. Just feel this, because the show is about to begin. And you're feeling a little bit nervous, a little bit, but that's okay, that's normal. A little bit of nerves. Something I learned way back when I was a paramedic and firefighter and also doing stress management workshops, I actually taught people to tighten up their butts. I don't know if Kevin teaches that, but in a place, if you're sitting in an audience and you're getting nervous and you can't do any kind of weird, you can't do any like physical movements to blow off some of that stress, and all you can do is like tighten up your calves, tighten up your butt, and really squeeze it really hard. That tends to work for me, just to burn off some of that little extra energy. I don't know if you've heard that, Keva, and I don't know if I'm totally weird saying that, but tighten your butt up really hard. So.
But Sahela says it's true, right? It works. So I guess she's tightened her butt.
The other thing I do is I tighten up all my my tricep muscles in my arms. I tighten them up really hard and then I relax them. And in that moment of relaxation, Keba, I think you would agree, it's a nice place to exhale. because it's letting go. And I want you to add to this, Keba, because this is a real key teaching point for people. They're feeling nerves right before a show. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yes, most people are doing exactly the wrong thing to relax before a performance. People say, oh, take a deep breath. No, don't take a deep breath. Exhale. Because if you just take a deep breath, you're packing your lungs with more pollution, which is already stored in there anyway. The best thing to do is to exhale, but not like, which is what a lot of people do when they're frustrated. They do this little click, and then they blow out a breath and they show you they're disgusted. The best way to relax is to secretly, quietly, slowly exhale all the way to your toes and let the universe pick up your tension. Then you don't have it anymore. Just let it go is not the best phrase for that, but do let it flow out of you. Please don't take a breath. The inhale will take care of itself.
Excellent. Okay, Kev, I'm going to get you to adjust your monitor again a little bit. We need your eyes to the upper third part of your monitor.
Mm-hmm.
You can just adjust your camera down a little bit. Try a little more because it's springing back again. Okay. That's better. Good. Does everybody see the improvement? Okay, great. Okay, I'm just checking everybody else visually. Now, the way you want to sit prior to the interview starting is try to avoid leaning back in your chair. It's too relaxed. Now, imagine that you're very excited and you're actually going to lean forward and you're going to sit up nice and tall. Nice and tall. Imagine there is a string attached to your tailbone and it's like a balloon is pulling you up straight through the top of your head. Okay. Notice also your energy will increase just by doing that. Just by doing that, it's easier to breathe. Okay. And maintain that level of excitement. Remember, you're leaning in. Try to stay away from the back of your seat. You're leaning in and you're just so excited to get started with these influencers. And really, you're excited to meet them all afterwards, connect with them. Connect on LinkedIn, build relationships. You're just thinking about, remember, these are all famous people. This is your target avatar. These people are, you want to go on, I don't know, for William, I'd say you want to go hiking with these people. Or some of you want to go for dinner maybe. It's whatever it is that's emotionally charged for you. And if you notice what we're doing right now, if you're questioning, if the part of your brain is saying, well, what's this all? What is this purpose? What are we doing right now? I'm getting you emotionally ready for the interview. Okay, do you all agree that this is helpful? Just the visualization, just the anticipation, the excitement of being on the show? Is it all helpful in helping you just to get ready? And I'm also trying to take you away from thinking about your questions. Thinking about what are you going to say. I'm trying to just take you to another place. Okay, so this is all things that you want to do prior to the interview because you don't really know when the host is going to call on you. But okay, it could be any time. It could be right now. It could be, I could pass it over to Maria right now as the director and say, go ahead and ask somebody a question. So you don't know when it's going to happen. So all you know is you're ready when it happens. Does that make sense? All you know is that you're ready whenever it happens. It could even be postponed. Your show, you could actually be knocked off as a guest and invited back another time. That could happen. So be prepared for that too. So you're just ready. You're just ready for everything that can happen. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to bring myself up to, I'm going to go to speaker view. And keep in mind, from the recording, we're going to see, if you're speaking, you're going to be on the main screen, and I'll just switch between everyone as we go along. So I'm going to start as the director and the announcer of the show. On 3, 2. Welcome everyone to Mastercast Live, where we interview some of the world's most successful and influential people. And I'm so excited today. We have some of the top celebrities, entrepreneurs, and industry experts here with us today for our host, Maria No. And many of you know Maria as someone who's interviewed some of the biggest celebrities in the world. She's been doing it for a lot of years, and whether it's on the red carpet or in a studio or behind the scenes or in a helicopter or a roller coaster, she has done it. And one thing that she's so passionate about is interviewing these influencers that have so much to share. And Maria loves to get their success stories. She loves to find out what is it that makes these people so successful. And they're also experts, so she's going to draw out some real golden nuggets. So they don't hold back. We've already asked them, do not hold back. Give us your best stuff. So that being said, I want to pass it over to Maria to begin the process of interviewing these successful people and getting their success stories.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ray. And yes, I'm very pleased today to have these guest experts on as a panel, and they're going to help us in the areas of business and our own personal lives so that we can be the best us that we can be. So first, I'd like to address Miss Karen Pierce. Now, she's actually telling us that we should bring our work life home into our home life, and in fact, it's going to enhance our marriage or relationships. And I know that just sounds absolutely absurd, but hey, Karen, thanks for being here. So tell me, what do you mean by bringing your work home, or your work life into your home life?
Well, thank you, Maria, but I don't actually mean that you just bring your work home and you hold yourself up in the den and work all night and weekend. What I mean is we've learned some things in our offices and what we do every day to be successful at work, that if we just brought some of those principles home, we would have the kind of team in our marriage, we would have the kind of coordination with our family that we're striving for at work. So it's kind of the same thing as, you know, in our careers, if we don't take charge of it, we're going to be working ourselves to death. Somebody else is going to be turning or deciding which promotion we get. We need to have a plan about what we want to do there. Well, likewise, if you don't have a plan at home, everything just kind of happens. So we're either going to take charge of that and design the life that we want to live at home as much as we're going to fulfill our careers in the office.
Well, I really like that. So have a plan as if you were at work and bring that into your home life so everyone's on the same page and have the same goal. Now, so Hala, you are a professional belly dancer. You also have your own studio. So I want to talk about incorporating some of these strategies in terms of how do we live our own healthy, happy, wonderful life.
Well, first of all, you have to wake up just happy. I mean, what I like to do is when I wake up, I look outside my beautiful house and I thank just everything that I have. I'm so grateful for what I have. I am filled with energy every day. And, you know, it's about keeping your spirit alive by body, mind, and soul. And you want to keep moving your body to make yourself feel amazing.
Well, thank you for that. And so going over to our stress management expert, Keba, what's one technique that we can use to really lower our stress? Now we're hearing, you know, have a plan, bring that home so that people are on the same page or we're not stressed out. Move your body because that's going to help you release any of that negative energy. What's one stress technique that we can do to really be present, whether it's in our work life or in our home life?
My first recommendation is to think of stress management as something that you can do in chunks. You can do it in a few seconds. You can do it in a lifetime program. But the first thing that you can do is use the power within your own metabolism. Simply drop your shoulders, which are holding 90% of your stress, and most people don't realize it. Drop your shoulders gently. Feel them. Oh, yes. There's some very strong elastic there. Down, down, down. I'm looking at everybody's shoulders. Down, down, down. Okay. And then exhale all the way to the ground and feel your stress leaving through your toes. It's leaving. And you can do this invisibly at board meetings. You can do it while being interviewed. You can do it in front of your child, and you will be you will not be noticed as a person who is choosing to manage their stress. And stress management is different from relaxing. Relaxing is very nice. It's one set of skills, but it's only a tiny piece of your overall stress management. And the 5-second reset, dropping your shoulders and exhaling all the way to your toes, is a very powerful first tool to use.
Now I want to swing into the corporate arena or into the business world here. We have William Meneve, Norma Hollis, and Susan Rosenthal here. And I want to talk to you about if somebody is currently an entrepreneur and a business owner. So William, you are an expert in creating a brand story, or their story brand really. And I know you as a professional photographer who's traveled all around the world. Well, what is exactly, when you're helping somebody build out their brand, what do you mean and why is it important?
Thank you, Maria, for this question. So excited to be with you guys. I would say that why it's important to reconnect to your story, it's that you're reconnecting at the same time to your life purpose. A lot of people are working so hard that they never take the time to stop and just remember who they are, what path they took in their life. And if you look at it, it's like we are just putting down a lot of little scattered puzzle pieces, and we need to a certain point to stop and build back the puzzle to be able to see a vision of where we want to go. And when we reconnect to our story, that's the best way to reconnecting to our identity.
And talking about reconnecting to your story, Norma, you actually help people find their authentic voice, which is very challenging today as we're wanting to be accepted. Yet on the other hand, there are so many challenging topics that we need to speak up, and oftentimes we are afraid to. So tell me, what do you mean by having your authentic voice?
By having your authentic voice, what I'm really talking about really is being your authentic self. You know, we're all born with a set of gifts and talents that are strictly our own. And so often when we're young, we lose them to satisfy the needs of adults who see life differently than the one we were sent here to live. So really readjusting so that we're connected more with the gifts and talents we were born with the purpose. We all talk about purpose in life. So purpose is very much connected to your gifts and talents. And matter of fact, your gifts and talents are a clue for what your purpose is. So when I talk about leadership, I'm talking about leading from the authentic part of yourself, the authentic part of the gifts and talents that are very easy to do. I mean, that's who you are.
Susan, you know, we're talking about going into a lot of the corporate settings or the business settings right now that, you know, you're hearing more and more like step into your true self, just like what Norma was saying, connect to your vision, as William was saying. How do we do that in a corporate setting when it's almost viewed as something that, oh, we shouldn't really focus on that individual, you know, as part of the leadership in a company. We should just kind of, let's stick to the policies. Let's go from A to Z. Let's be very black and white. So what is your thought process on that?
What we found today, and research has proven it, is that having a compassionate leadership approach really makes a difference in leadership styles today. Is that it's not just compassionate leadership, but it's really all about connections, and not only connecting to people, but caring about them, having an emotional sort of connection to the people that are around you on a day-to-day basis. Research studies have shown that employee engagement goes way up, as does productivity, can increase by 60-70% when employees feel really connected to each other and the work that they're doing. And then a byproduct of that is that it passes on to the customers or clients, is that their level of engagement goes considerably up as well. So we see that having this kind of approach makes a difference. And the bottom line, you really see it in your productivity as well as your ROI.
I love that. So Karen, I want to come back to you because as a professional woman, I feel that, you know, I'm trying to do it all. I'm trying to be the best mom, the best wife, the best business leader. And it's very challenging to come home and then be present, although I work with Ray, but to not talk about work. So how do I start creating this plan where do I need to separate things during my time with my family, or how do I incorporate everything that I do, because that's really who I am?
Well, I guess the thing I would suggest is when you're at work, do you incorporate Ray into it? Do you have private little meetings and little tete-a-tetes? Probably not. You are at work and you're really focused on what you're doing. When you're home, you need to have that time that's just you and him, time to decompress. Sometimes that is talking about your day. Of course, that you're interested in each other and what you're doing, or how, even though you're on the same team, you still have different responsibilities. You have different things that you're good at that bring your goals to life, right? Mm-hmm. So talking about that and experiencing that is great, but limited. Then you get a chance to really just relax, just to enjoy each other and recognize why you're together. That dinner without the cell phones, without the texting. You may be kind of a 24/7 business, but you need to have some boundaries. And that's what I like to call non-negotiables. We all have our values, our core values, but some of the frustration we feel is that we feel compromised. Like the things that are important to us, we're actually giving over to somebody else or to something else. But when you think about them as non-negotiables, they're off the table. That we don't even talk about that. That's just, we're not doing that. So whatever your boundaries are that you agree, the no cell phones, the Friday night dates, or you're going to be at your son's activity at school. One parent is going to be there and one parent activities are rare, for example. And it goes into just about every aspect of your life. Some of the things that are most important, write them down, talk about them, revisit them, and that starts to form a real core foundation for that special time at home.
Now, so Hala, as a busy person, and I know that most people can relate to me, thinking about taking a dance class or really taking care of ourselves, and I know that I'm guilty of this, is probably the last thing on your list, on top of everything else, right? So tell me, what is the importance of really taking care of oneself and tuning into actually doing physical exercise?
Well, first of all, we get stagnant as women, as men too. We get really stagnant. We're always on the computer. We go back in the house and we really don't want to do anything. And unfortunately, we need to push ourselves to do something. And why not try to push yourself to do something different? If it's something different in the energy way, and it will make you feel amazingly beautiful, definitely go ahead and try it. It's something new, it's something exciting. Give it a try. And I know there's a lot of people that, get bored, they get on the couch and say, no, I don't want to move. Mm-hmm. You got to just make yourself do it. Get up and do it. Or even take a friend and say, hey, let's go try something new. And so that's what you want to do. You need to perk yourself up and get out there and just stay out of that stagnant situation that you're in. You'll get more motivated. Your self-confidence will go through the roof immediately because you are trying to do something, not really just trying, you are doing something different, and just bring joy back into your life. Everybody deserves that.
I love it. I'm already feeling joyful just speaking to you. Norma, we talked about really building our self-confidence, self-esteem, and part of that is really stepping into who we really are in any situation. So what if it is uncomfortable for us to step into that moment because we're afraid that we're not going to be accepted or that we're going to be judged negatively?
Well, we all worry about judgment from time to time. As children, we start with that because our peers judge us terribly, as well as our parents oftentimes. But we have to mature beyond that, because in reality, we each go through life with our own mission and our own purpose and our own authenticity. So it's really important that we step into that and allow ourselves, because when we block that, we're blocking our joy. We're blocking our purpose. We're blocking our ability to really be all that we can. And I think most of us really want a meaningful life, doing all those things that we set out to do. So getting rid of that fear and stepping into the confidence that, I'm going to pat myself on the back and I'm going to do all that I can, the best that I can, and let the chips fall where they may, and really be happy that I did make the effort.
Whether you're about to go into a meeting or go up on stage or do an interview, Keba, I feel a lot of times that stress overtaking me. And sometimes it just becomes a snowball effect. And, you know, speaking on self-esteem, it just beats you up, and therefore you become very fearful. So tell me, why do we have these stress mechanisms? Aren't they here to really serve us, or is it truly trying to harm us?
It's a matter of degree. Thank you for asking this key question. You've heard the expression fight or flight 1,000 times. And I don't know that people really think about what it means because they've heard that so often. But our bodies were designed to pick up and run away fast if we saw a nasty big animal coming to steal our food supply when we were cave people. And we're also set up to do the absolute opposite, so that if somebody is coming up and threatening your little boy, you would beat them to death before you would let them hurt your loved one, right?
Okay.
So we have those completely opposite hormones in us. But I think that the key is to have a platform of inner serenity. I call it peace within. And if you have just a few seconds, if you take your hands and touch the palm centers or touch fingertips to one palm center in a few seconds, yes, I have to lift it because that's where my camera is, but you can do this behind your back or in your lap. And what happens there is you're touching in with the central nervous system. And whether you're fearful or you're feeling aggressive, either one, you can help yourself to feel still and still your metabolism, and then you can deal with whatever issues are at hand.
Thank you so much for that, Keb. I already feel more at ease. Almost too relaxed, I think. So, William, I'd like to address this question to you. As people are kind of looking further down the road, now we know that businesses want to create a brand in order to be inviting or to attract their clients into their life. But what I think is very interesting about you, as we're interviewing all these successful people, that people are starting to think about legacy, what to pass down to their children. And what I think is so incredible about you is you're able to capture through visual, so through photographs and just kind of telling someone's life through this visual story branding. Have you seen, like, what has been the experience for you working with those individuals who are in that mindset of, you know, tuning into their passion and their purpose and telling their story through your work?
Wow, great question. Well, I think what's the beautiful thing about the process of branding ourselves, you know, the personal image branding and using it in a visual storytelling way, is that some people come in and just want to start a brand, their personal brand. But it goes way deeper than that, because when you start the branding process, you have to start asking yourself the question, who am I? And this is a very powerful question. Who am I and what is my story? And when you start asking this question, you're going down the rabbit hole. You know, is it the red pill or the blue pill that you're going to swallow? And you start asking all the questions. And when you do that in a place that is reconnecting you to nature, to your inner nature, not in a seminar room, but you're doing that, whether it's a caveman experience, a James Bond day on an expedition, it amplifies, you know, the experience. And when people want to start rebranding and they do that on an adventure, at the same time, they are going to experience, you know, and reconnect what is their story. And it's going to make the process way more powerful, because they are going to be able to find pieces that they never thought was possible before.
And I like to close this interview segment with Susan. So Susan, it seems like the theme today is really about connectivity. And I remember when we interviewed Richard Branson, he said, you know, I asked him, what is a business? And he just clearly stated, well, what is a business? It is simply people. It is made up of people. And that means we have emotions, we have men, women, we have daughters, sons, you know, everybody is part of a company. And I really like your theme of being more compassionate, because I believe if we're more compassionate people as an individual, we can bring that to the company, to the corporate structure, and have all those benefits as you had said before. So tell me, why do you feel right now, as we're, or I should say, what should these companies start doing to have this conversation? Because it almost feels intangible until you bring those numbers to the table. So what can a company do right now to start moving towards having a more compassionate leadership so that they can be more profitable, that they can be a better company and provide better services?
Well, Marie, that's a great question. And a lot of the companies that are merging today are very focused on being mission driven. And mission driven creates a different kind of culture. It creates a culture where people sort of get behind a vision or a cause that they really care about. And then it allows them to bring more of their emotion and more of their caring to the job, rather than the traditional companies where people just sort of show up and everybody's performing to achieve the tasks and goals of the company. And for the most part, at these more traditional companies, people kind of leave their emotions at the door, and they show up as worker bees to get work done and just make sure that they get everything done they need to by the end of the day, and they check things off. What companies can do today right now is being more deliberate on the culture that they create. And it can be everything from what the mission and the driving values, core values of the company are, to how people behave on a day-to-day basis. And even bring things into it that are fun. Having Friday afternoons, having a casual party in the office, or having lunches out. I know one company that every so often they'll say about 1 o'clock, this is a company in California, whoever gets to the beach first wins an award. And so they put their work down and run out the door. So you can create fun activities like that where people start to engage as human beings rather than being all about just getting work done.
Well, thank you all so much for being here today and really helping us to live our best professional and personal life in all areas. So thank you so much. Over to you, Ray.
Okay, folks. You had an opportunity to learn from some of the top celebrities, entrepreneurs, and industry experts. Now is your time to connect with them. They've personally given us permission to say, if you go and request a connection over at LinkedIn, they will accept you, and they're looking forward to connecting with you. See you on the next episode of Mastercast Live. Cut.
Round of applause for all of our guests.
For everyone. Yeah. Awesome job.
Ooh, that was challenging for me to try to tie in all the topics.
Wow.
Awesome. Good.
You guys were great.
You're great. Thank you, Maria.
Thanks,
It's one thing to have all stress management experts, you can kind of address, but it's different when everybody's got a different topic. So, but really, I think it worked out well. I'd be curious to see the playback on that. So thank you all so much for playing full out. And I used some of your questions, but some I didn't, and some of you didn't send in your questions. So I think it all worked out very well. And what Ray was saying is, it's always best to be extemporaneous when you really don't know what the questions are, because you then become authentic, right, Norma? I mean, you really are authentic.
All right, so I just want to give you a little bit of feedback technically. From a technical perspective, now, the reason why this is so important is you got to understand that if something didn't work technically during the interview and you're a guest, the host can only do so much to fix it. So the first thing I want to draw attention to is audio issues. If there's an audio issue, it's virtually, I don't want to say impossible because everything's possible, but let's say it's from an editor's perspective, it's very difficult to fix bad audio. Bad video is forgiving because we can cover it up. We can put still images over top. We can put B-roll over top. So if we have if video is a big issue, but the audio recording was great, it's very minimum. It serves as a great podcast. It's an audio interview. So one of the things I noticed was Maria's microphone, every time she went, we're getting all kinds of crazy audio noise. Again, that's why I wear headsets, because I want to see what's actually, I want to hear what's actually occurring in the recording. And of course, the solution to that is upgrade to a better camera and a better microphone. Now, Maria is purposely using an older laptop to demonstrate what can go wrong if you think that you can get away with that older laptop or that older desktop. I'm encouraging you, just spend the $100 and get the proper equipment. And the microphone and the camera will make such an incredible difference in the audio quality and the video quality that it's just a no-brainer. Because what you don't want to do is be a guest on someone's show and have them come back to you later and say, the audio was unusable, but it wasn't from my end, it was from your end. And that causes a lot of frustration for them, because they put the time in and they realize that because you didn't have the proper camera or the proper lighting or it affects their end product. So the information I've already given you will resolve a lot of that. The camera, the microphone, and the lighting was all going to resolve a lot of that. But if you're the host, you could have the same problem. What you're wanting to do is tell your guests prior to, first of all, ask your guests, what are you using for camera? What are you using for lighting? What are you using for audio? If you give some kind of a pre-interview instruction on how to make your guests look the best on camera, which is what we did in this entire workshop, is giving you tips on how to make sure that we can avoid a lot of those problems. Now, we're not going to avoid them all. There is always going to be something that comes up. We're looking to minimize Murphy. Murphy is going to want to attack any opportunity. We want to give Murphy the least amount of opportunity. So if we have the right equipment and we've taken all those necessary setup steps to avoid a lot of these issues that could come up, we're just going to have more success stories, more successful interviews, more successful products. So I'm glad that we had some technical issues on here so I can demonstrate that. When you go to watch this replay, you're going to see every time Maria begins to speak, there's an audio issue. Again, the way to correct that is to get the proper microphone. The way to correct poor visual images, to get the proper camera. That is huge. Once you got the technology out of the way, guess what's left? You. That's it. You're left. That's everything from once you got all the technical out of the way, it's your powerful message that is going to make the difference, is going to make the difference in people's lives. Because even though we try to get the best technical image and the best audio sound, in the end, your message is the thing that's going to inspire people. It's going to uplift people. It's going to educate people. It's going to entertain people. So technology is important, but you are much more important. So this was all focused on online interviews. You can take much of what you learned in this workshop to apply it to a stage. You can apply it to a studio. So my point here is, we're not done, folks. We're not done working with you. Maria and I both feel that this was only the starting point of a relationship and the starting point of a friendship, starting point of a working process. So as I mentioned, what I would like to invite all of you to do to continue, because it's always sad at the end of any program to say, you know, that was fun, see ya, maybe we'll see you again, maybe not. I want to encourage everyone to say, we will see each other again, and we'll see each other often. And one of the ways of doing that is to stay with us. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn. Make sure that you're checking into our blogs as we're posting all these upcoming workshops and teaching points. Oh, by the way, William and I are getting together and we're going to craft all of these slides into individual 10-minute tutorials. So everything will be chunked down in greater detail. So you're going to want to follow that because it's going to be so valuable to you. But the other thing I want you to do is I want you to, if you're up for it, I want you to continue to join us for future workshops, because we rinse and repeat this workshop every month. We're going to go for another 4 weeks starting next week. So if you want to stay and play, you're welcome to do that. Now, the only thing that we're going to have limitations for, because we're limited by 100 cameras coming on, but obviously our limits go far below that, because we can't serve 100 people effectively on a workshop like this. But we can take 100 cameras into the system. It's just if we have a group of new clients aboard, we have to focus our attention on getting our new clients to practice. But that doesn't mean that you can't be with us during that whole process and on chat and providing feedback and continuing to learn. And here's the big one, and continue to network. Because each week, each month, we have a new group of people and new groups of people to bond with, new people to network with, new people to learn from. And so I encourage you to do that. We're also going to take this to another level. I know many of you, you may have gotten some good value out of this workshop. I believe that you can get additional value if you go on with Maria onto a strategy session, because there's a lot that you don't feel comfortable asking on a group workshop. There's some things that maybe are more personal to your business. I mean, you may have you have some insecurities in some area that you don't want to make public, especially when we have people like business coaches, and you don't want to blow your cover, right? So a good way to get a lot of those questions answered is go on with a strategy session with Maria one-on-one, where you can give her feedback, she can give you feedback, she can give you further advice on where to go, and she'll also invite you to join us for our mentorship programs or our memberships or anything else, any way that we believe we can serve you further in this area of media showcase. In other words, getting showcased in the media. Anything that we can go beyond this further, she will discuss that with you personally on a strategy session. This is an opportunity for you to ask any questions. She will answer them freely. You will also be able to, and I hope that you do this, provide an on-camera testimonial for your experience with us in the workshop, because that, of course, we need to practice what we preach. We tell you that it's important that when you do a media interview, make sure that you get a testimonial from your host. Because if you have a host, especially a big influencer, telling you how awesome you were, you're going to want to use that testimonial for your next outreach when you're going to request another interview. So that's one of the things we're going to ask from you is give us a testimonial, give us some feedback, tell us how you feel, what worked for you, what didn't work. All that, Maria will capture all that. And 1 hour strategy session for anybody that wants to reach out to Maria to take this to the next level. We're also going to send you the link for next week's workshop if you want to join us again and can continue. Okay, I think that's all from me, Maria. I'm going to pass it over to you.
I think we're really good. I'm going to be reaching out individually. Actually, I think everybody pretty much is part of the program, except for a couple of people. And I'll reach out to Sohaila with appointment calendar. Kevin, I'm following up with you to start you on your journey as well. Susan, I know we have a call here after, so we're doing great. And William, and by the way, guys, I'm gonna send you my my cell number. You can reach out to me whenever you want. It's just I may not be able to get back to you right away, but I'm pretty good about that. So just because if you're not part of the program, we just want to continue having the conversation. Ray and I are not those people that will drop you or, we're always going to be here. This is what we do. We love doing this. We love helping you. And we really hope that this was of value to you because Ray has poured out his heart and soul. He's designed this entire program. And this is what we walk our 10K program, our 10K clients through. This is their start. So this is not a fluff, side thing that we're doing. This is actually helping our clients, and we have our team do this for our clients. So I hope you enjoyed it. We really enjoyed having you, and so grateful for all of you being on the workshop as well.
And make sure before you get on with Maria that you do get to watch the replay, and you can, because watching yourself on camera is so insightful. And please, I have to say this as a disclaimer before we go. It's so important. You are your worst critic. All of you are going to look at yourself, and in the beginning, a lot of people are just going to hate the way you look. You're going to hate the way you sound, and know that not everybody is looking at your interview so critically. And one of the biggest challenges we have with clients is once we do the show, they're so critical about that, and they have so much. So what we do immediately is, as soon as somebody starts to beat themselves up after watching themselves on camera, we say, listen, it's not your opinion that counts right now. It's the audience's opinion that counts. So we're going to actually ask other people what they think, people who are going to give you honest feedback, and we're going to hear what they have to say. And when you can hear a dozen or so people telling you how great, how awesome your content was and how impactful it was, then go with that. Don't go with your own opinion. On that note, it's been a pleasure working with each and every one of you, and God bless, and we'll stay connected. Okay, folks, you had an opportunity to learn from some of the top celebrities, entrepreneurs, and expert